Hello there, you're tuning into Bizline, our weekly economic journal on VTV International. I'm Hoàng Hằng, and as usual, we now begin with news making headlines in Vietnam's economic scene this week.
Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính attended the 5th Vietnam-U.S. Business Summit Tuesday morning, which was themed defining the future of bilateral economic relations. The summit focused on several issues related to digital economy, innovations, energy development, and sustainable investment promotion. Speaking at the summit, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính said that Vietnam will focus on implementing the socio-economic recovery and development program, opening up the economy and at the same time improving healthcare capacity, preventing and controlling the pandemic, ensuring social security, recovering the labor market, helping enterprises recover, and investing in infrastructure development. In a recent survey by the American Chamber of Commerce, in Vietnam, nearly 80% of respondents had very positive or positive assessments of the medium and long-term prospect in Vietnam market. The U.S. has become the second largest trading partner of Vietnam. At the summit, delegate and representative of American enterprises lauded Vietnam's pandemic prevention effort, vaccination campaign, and commitment to the COP26.
Vietnam's trade turnover in the first 2 months of 2022 was estimated at around $100 billion, a sharp increase of 13% year-on-year, according to the General Statistics Office. Upon breaking down, in February, the country's exports rose by 13.2% year-on-year, with a major contribution from the domestic sector by posting export growth of 20.3% and the foreign investor sector of 11.1%. The domestic sector recorded a trade deficit of $4 billion, and their foreign peers a gain of $3.02 billion.
With the speed of vaccinations and their flexible and safe adaptation strategies, Vietnam's effective controls of the disease has ensured that the production lines, supply chains, and export of FDI enterprises in the countries are maintained and operated smoothly. In the first 2 months of the year, Vietnam attracted nearly $5 billion in FDI, of which the capital for implementing projects was estimated at $2.68 billion, up 7.2% over the same period last year. To create favorable conditions for businesses, many localities have implemented specific policies, of which the shortening of administrative procedures has been most effective.
It is necessary to develop a more flexible petrol and oil price management mechanism to shorten the time needed to adjust prices accordingly and make a decision to reduce taxes. This was proposed by petroleum businesses in Vietnam in the context of recent fluctuations in global oil prices, while domestic prices are still being controlled every 10 days, inconveniencing many businesses. In response to this, the Interdisciplinary Ministry of Industry and Trade and Finance is closely monitoring the global situation to make appropriate calculations and ensure compliance with regulations and standards, as well as harmonized interest. In addition, to ensure the supply of petroleum, the Ministry of Industry and Trade will also closely coordinate with the Ministry of Finance and the State Bank to provide capital support and streamline procedures for businesses that are allowed to import petroleum.
In recent years, Vietnam's foreign exchange reserve have been stable despite the international market turmoil. So far, the reserve has reached a record high, increasing to nearly $110 billion, 10 times higher than that of 2010, and is expected to continue increasing in the future according to the size of the economy. Supply and demand in the foreign exchange market have also improved, with the supply of foreign currencies in the domestic market now in high surplus.
Those are some highlights in Vietnam's economic scene. Up next in our crosstalk, we will look into the prospect for the resort real estate market to recover in 2022 as Vietnam plans to reopen tourism activities. Well, the COVID-19 pandemic has caused a slowdown in the real estate market. Many experts believe this is only temporary and are pinning their hopes on a rebound once the virus is under control. As COVID-19 has transformed the lifestyle of consumers, more and more people have been investing in resort real estate with the idea that they can serve as second homes for safe vacations. In addition, the reopening of regular international flights and the reopening of tourism activities under new normal conditions are expected to boost resort real estate. Will the reopening of the aviation and tourism industries cause the resort real estate market to recover in 2022? We will find out in this week's Bizline edition. But first, let's take a look at some of the impressive numbers recorded from Vietnam's tourism industry in 2021, despite the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic.
$29,500 foreign visitors in February, up 169.6% year-on-year. 49,200 international arrivals in the 2-month, surging 71.7% from the same period last year. These are encouraging signs indicating the gradual recovery of Vietnam's tourism and also creating momentum for resort real estate. As Vietnam will fully open its doors to international tourists from March 15th, and foreign arrivals will not need to book tour packages, the policy would help hotels and leisure real estate revive after the pandemic hiatus.
The Vietnam government have made a really great decision and allow all the people of the world to enjoy your beautiful country. End of this year, 2022, travellers coming back to Vietnam will have almost reached the same levels as they were before the pandemic started.
According to statistics by Savils, the number of branded hotel and resort projects in Vietnam increased from 36 with 8,200 rooms in 2010 to 120 with 32,000 rooms late January 2022.
Thị trường bất động sản của chúng ta là một cái thị trường có nhiều xung lực, lực cầu rất mạnh, khả năng phát triển, khả năng tăng trưởng rất cao.
As challenging as it might seem everywhere in the world, leisure real estate in Vietnam has shown a lot of positive sides. The resilience is undeniable, and it's guaranteed to come back much stronger when the pandemic is over.
We now connect with Director of Savils Hanoi, Matthew Powell, to learn more about Vietnam's resort real estate prospect in the time ahead. Well, thank you, Matthew, for joining us. So how has the COVID-19 pandemic affected resort real estate in Vietnam over the past couple of years?
So obviously it's very challenging with the lack of international tourists during the lockdown period. It was extremely challenging for the resort cities. You know, if we look at Da Nang for an example, they had a very difficult couple of years. It's very difficult to maintain and operate these resorts without the customers, and it's a very expensive endeavor. So the hotels particularly were really struggling with staying open and maintaining the properties. Even you know, during the lockdown, while there was some domestic tourism, it was not necessarily sufficient. Coming to more recent months, we've seen this uptick in domestic tourism, particularly around the Tet holiday. A lot of resorts were active. You know, Phu Quoc has been doing very well. So it's now time to sort of to get things back to normal, hopefully. And you know, then to welcome back international tourists, but it's certainly been extremely challenging for resort operators and owners, but fingers crossed that most people have been able to survive. We're very much looking forward to the reopening of the borders in March 15th, and we're hoping that's going to be a real lifeline to the resort real estate sector.
In your opinion, what advantages and disadvantages does Vietnam have in terms of resort real estate development?
Vietnam's got a lot going for it. You know, it's a fantastic resort and hospitality location. We saw that, you know, prior to COVID. You know, Vietnam travel industry was booming. International arrivals were growing in huge numbers. Airport expansion was doing very well. You know, the coastline is fantastic. The natural environment, food, scenery, access, security, the number of international airports and ports and how to access the country is very straightforward. So Vietnam's a fantastic tourism destination and got a lot going for it. And we also see that effect into the second home market and the holiday home market, and international buyers looking to purchase property in Vietnam. Even during COVID, we've been working with many different international buyers looking at investment into resort property, who are fully confident of this rebound, as are we, once international travel. That's the only limiting factor, is the international travel. In the immediate area, competitors are, Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, countries like this. But Vietnam's really got a lot going for it above many of these locations. Plus price, it can be more affordable compared to other resort destinations.
Now, what notable trends have been recorded in this market segment in recent years, especially taking into account the impacts of COVID-19?
We've seen some changes to the market. We've seen more resort development and more second home development in newer areas, particularly around Hanoi. But the traditional areas of Da Nang, Nha Trang, Phu Quoc also continue to develop very strongly. And we're also seeing a lot of activity in the north, so particularly Quang Ninh area. The developers themselves have been did look at diversifying locations, so perhaps locations closer to the city, where within a drive rather than within a flight. So that was a noticeable trend, certainly in the north of Vietnam. So, rather than hopping on a flight, a family group or friends can get together and drive a couple of hours down to Sam Son, Thanh Hoa, or around Hanoi. In the surrounding Hanoi, it's more of the nature resorts, the hills, the Hoa Binh areas, obviously, rather than beach-related activities. So this is a different type of product, and it's more that weekend retreat kind of thing, and we see that already active in Ba Vi. The closest beach, the drive down to Sam Son. It still has some way to go in terms of a fully developed tourist infrastructure and the natural environment, let's say. But it's already been active with companies like FLC, already have the active resort and golf there. Most developers will have projects going on there. There's Van Phu Invest has a project launching later this year, the Sun Group project. So it's certainly improving, and more facilities will start to come for sure. But it's early stages yet, let's say, but it's still very good access to Hanoi, so it's still very accessible. But one of the factors is that as travel becomes, flight travel becomes easier and more acceptable, let's say, then a flight to sunnier climates and Da Nang and Nha Trang and Phu Quoc, becomes easier and much more competition for resorts like Sam Son. So, Sam Son and Thanh Hoa really have to focus on what they're providing against competing provinces and competing locations.
The pandemic has brought about a possibly permanent shift in the way people living in big cities view their home. Travel restrictions have encouraged property purchasers into newer destinations within close distance of Hanoi. Locations such as Ninh Binh, Thanh Hoa and Bac Ninh are benefiting from the investment growth and in these areas. With a coastline of 102 kilometers, which is favorable for tourism, Thanh Hoa has emerged as an attractive destination for investors.
Chúng ta có thể thấy là Thanh Hóa là có một cái vị trí địa lý cũng khá là đắc địa. Thanh Hóa là cái cửa ngõ đi vào với vùng đồng bằng kinh tế của Bắc Bộ, kết nối với thủ đô Hà Nội. Họ có biển, họ có núi, họ có hồ, họ có những cái cảnh quan thiên nhiên khá là phong phú, đa dạng để có thể tạo ra những cái du lịch theo từng vụ mùa và từng đối tượng.
Khi mà mình được sống và ở những cái nơi mà có thiên nhiên, có sông, nó sẽ rất là yên bình. Khi mà mình về nhà, cũng hy vọng rằng là đây sẽ là cái dự án, cũng là cái nơi mà tôi cũng như gia đình tôi có thể trở về nhà thường xuyên mỗi khi chúng tôi đi làm về. Đó là cái lý do mà tôi quyết định là sẽ đầu tư tại dự án này.
Expected to become one part of the development quadrangle of the North, Thanh Hoa is welcoming a wave of investors looking for new opportunities, especially as the COVID-19 pandemic is gradually controlled. The trends of staycations and workations have become more popular. Located not too far from big cities, destinations like Sam Son in Thanh Hoa province have become good options.
Mà chúng ta thấy với Covid thì cái việc mà thay đổi cái thói quen của những gọi là nhà đầu tư, đấy là chúng ta hoàn toàn có thể làm việc từ xa mà không cần phải đến cơ quan, thì rất là lý tưởng để những nhà đầu tư, những người ở Hà Nội như chúng ta mong muốn rằng sở hữu một ngôi nhà thứ hai mà có cả sông cả biển. Thì đối với cả thị trường của Thanh Hóa thì chúng ta có thể nhìn thấy một cách rất rõ nét là trước đây chưa được nhiều những cái nhà đầu tư quan tâm một cách đúng tầm. Thì đối với chúng tôi, Thanh Hóa là một nơi thực sự là có rất là nhiều tiềm năng để phát triển. Đặc biệt đến là ở khu vực phía Bắc thì không có nơi nào mà có đầy đủ từ rừng, từ biển, từ sông và cả khí hậu đều có thể gọi là hòa quyện tại một nơi như là Thanh Hóa.
According to the Global Wellness Institute, GWI, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, people consider a healthy living environment a top priority. This means areas that not only provide physical and mental benefits, but can also improve labor productivity. Due to the pandemic, more people have been buying real estate in the suburbs and more open areas to enjoy the fresh air.
What trends should developers pay attention to take advantage of resort real estate development post-COVID-19?
Still a lot of interest in second home market. Several major launches coming up this summer. So there continues to be really strong interest in the traditional areas, so Da Nang and Nha Trang, but also seeing other cities and other locations in Phú Yên, in Quy Nhon, being very active as well. We're going slightly back to the resurgence of branded residences. So a lot more brands coming in, a lot more Vietnamese being interested in high quality managed branded residences across the country. And that's also getting more interest from international buyers who are keen to enter the Vietnam real estate market. And we're also seeing diversification of products into urban branded residences as well. So not just the traditional beach villas, but in general, we're very bullish on resort real estate and branded residences across the country for this year, and very hopeful that the tourism will rebound very quickly once the borders open.
Now, what is your assessment of the foreign capital being put into resort real estate in Vietnam by foreign investors, including overseas Vietnamese in recent years?
Absolutely, both. So huge demand from investors, institutional investors, who are looking to purchase operating resorts. Who see, everybody knows that the potential is there, then the market will rebound. There hasn't been much in the way of distressed assets. Owners have been semi-comfortable to keep and wait for the rebound of the market. But for a good quality resort, there's huge demand for foreign investors, and foreign investors still continue to explore the market and look at how they can develop new locations up and down the coast, whether it's in beach locations or mountain regions, such as like Sapa, for example. For individuals, yes. More so for branded residences where they have the familiarity of a brand that they know, rather than unbranded resort residences where there may be a lack of familiarity or lack of confidence in the developer. So that's why the brand and the hotel management is crucial for the success for international buyers. However, the number of international buyers is limited. It's only limited to 10% of a villa development and 30% for apartment. So for a villa development, this is not a huge sector. We would like policy to be reviewed by the authorities to increase the number of foreign purchasers in specifically resort projects and resort destinations. That limit is there to control the amount of foreign ownership in the residential market, which is a good safeguard. But in the luxury market or the resort residential market, there's less of a need for these social protection caps. So we would like that to be reviewed, particularly for resort real estate.
In 2021, despite the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on the global economy, remittances to Vietnam still reached about $12.5 billion, an increase of 10% compared to the same period in 2020. As such, resort real estate is considered an investment trend that will help attract remittances to Vietnam in the years to come.
Khoảng từ 2015 trở lại đây thì gần như năm nào chúng tôi cũng ghi nhận cái lượng kiều hối mà người Việt Nam sinh sống ở các quốc gia gửi về cho gia đình người thân của họ với một cái khối lượng ngày càng nhiều hơn. Và ngay kể cả trong năm 21 vừa rồi thì mặc dù là cả thế giới đang gặp cái đại dịch thì chúng tôi vẫn ghi nhận cái con số là tăng đột biến, có thể nói rất ấn tượng.
Analysts agree that foreign investors, including overseas Vietnamese, have higher standards, so domestic investors need to improve the quality and brand value of projects to attract more capital.
Chắc chắn là họ sẽ tìm đến những cái dòng bất động sản mà có khả năng mang lại giá trị cao sau đầu tư, có khả năng khai thác kinh doanh hiệu quả về lâu về dài một cách bền vững. Bây giờ chỉ còn cách là làm thế nào các cái nhà đầu tư lớn này phải giữ được cái chất lượng của mình, và chúng ta, các doanh nghiệp cũng như quốc gia cũng cần phải có những cái hệ thống để truyền tải thông tin để mà các cái Việt kiều cũng như là thị trường quốc tế người ta nắm bắt được.
Foreign investors with deep pockets are interested and willing to spend on luxury property in Vietnam, which in turn boosts tourism and the resort real estate sector.
What type and segment of resort real estate can we expect to boom in the coming years?
I think we'll start to see more diverse brands and a diversification throughout the market. At the moment, we have let's say the super luxury developments, and then we've got quite mass market developments. I hope that we start to see more variation and less large-scale developments, and more in keeping and designed more sustainably with ESG in mind, with the environment in mind, and with responsible tourism and travel, rather than building something that's not in keeping with locations and just trying to Disneyfy or theme a beautiful natural area, and not try to over-design it and cater to a mass market that doesn't necessarily exist.
Now, based on recent market development, what prospect of resort real estate in Vietnam can we expect in the coming years?
We're very, very bullish about it. We're very confident. Vietnam's got so much potential, so much beautiful landscape and interest for the hospitality market to grow. It's already developed a very strong reputation internationally, but there's still plenty of growth to be done. Infrastructure developments, whether they're new airport expansions or new locations, opening up different parts of the country to hospitality resorts in a sustainable and professional and well-designed manner, will be very beneficial. One thing to avoid, hopefully, is the unsustainable, unsuitable developments that are potentially looking for just a quick win. Of course, we want to see quality, and Vietnam can learn from the mistakes or learn from other countries of how they've developed. So we want it to retain its natural benefits and natural beauty. We've seen in some locations that the cities or beautiful areas have been really overbuilt. So building hospitality in a sustainable manner that tourists want to see. They want to see the natural beauty of the area, and resort real estate development should be there to showcase that.
In recent years, changes to visitors' behaviors and preferences towards sustainable development are reaching critical mass as green practices become a base standard in the construction of resort real estate. Real estate developers have also made commitments to protecting the natural beauty of local areas while making positive contributions to the local community and surrounding region.
Tại sao chúng tôi lựa chọn Sầm Sơn là điểm đến? Vì địa điểm bãi biển Sầm Sơn là một địa điểm mà được rất nhiều người đã biết đến rồi. Nhưng mà thực sự là ở Sầm Sơn thì còn có một dòng sông, đấy là dòng sông Đơ, rất là đẹp mà thực sự là chưa phải ai cũng biết đến. Và khi mà chúng tôi nhìn được vào cái tiềm năng phát triển của cái dòng sông Đơ đó, cải tạo dòng sông để thực sự là trở thành một cái dòng sông bao trùm quanh một cái khu đô thị nghỉ dưỡng mang tên Sunrise Village, đó chính là cái mà chúng tôi đang phát triển trong một cái hệ quần thể, một cái dự án là 1.260 hectare của chúng tôi tại nơi đây, và chúng tôi sẽ cùng song hành với cả tỉnh để có thể phát triển, mang cái tiềm năng thực sự của Thanh Hóa đến với cả nơi này để phát triển trong cả kinh tế, cả xã hội, và đặc biệt đấy là trong bất động sản và du lịch nghỉ dưỡng cao cấp.
Understanding this trend, accommodation service providers in Vietnam are promoting the second home segment to customers. A quiet private space, away from the polluted and cluttered city, but still fully equipped with amenities, wherein they can rest with friends, family, or even enjoy their retirement. According to the British newspaper, Telegraph, Vietnam is one of 20 markets with the highest growth rate of second homes in the world. A second home provides not only a peaceful and comfortable space, but also a place that is worth working in and enjoying.
Nếu khi chúng ta tạo ra được những cái mô hình như thế này, chúng ta thu hút đến đây không chỉ những khách du lịch chỉ đến tắm biển nữa, chúng ta sẽ tạo ra một cái khu du lịch có rất nhiều chức năng. Tôi cho rằng là nó sẽ thu hút những khách, trong đó đặc biệt là những cái dòng khách nước ngoài, khách cao cấp.
With increasingly diverse domestic and international connections, visa policies have become more open and efforts to build more infrastructure are being sped up. As such, Vietnam is an ideal destination for those who want to own a second home.
With over 3,000 kilometers of coastline, pristine beaches, and diverse cultural and historic sites, Vietnam has always attracted a large number of international tourists. In particular, after a long time of being affected by the pandemic, the country expects to welcome a significant number of domestic and foreign tourists, which will be the driving force for the recovery of the resort real estate market. In order for Vietnam's resort real estate to re-emerge strongly, experts believe that it is necessary to focus on product management and development. If it can do this, the smokeless industry and resort real estate will become an attractive investment sector for Vietnam in the coming years. And this brings us to the end of our Bizline program. To rewatch our program, please log on to our official website at vtv4.vtv.vn or simply download our app, VTV Go, from App Store and Google Play for a lot more. Thank you for watching and see you next time.